So many entitled people think the world is their parking lot. The best way to handle them is to get petty revenge. Story 1 is titled, "Neighbor keeps treating my driveway like free parking, so I taught him a $300 lesson." Okay, so this is a bit long, but I need to get this off my chest. I live in a small cul-de-sac. Nothing fancy, just your average neighborhood. My driveway fits 2 cars, mine and my husband's perfectly fine. For the most part, everyone here minds their own business. Except my neighbor, let's just call him Jack. For whatever reason, he thinks my driveway is like extra parking for his family and friends. First time it happened, I thought it was a mistake. His brother's car was there. He said he'd just be a sec. A week later, it was some friend of his dropping something off. I didn't love it, but I figured, whatever, not worth making it awkward, but it kept happening. I'd come home from work. I'm a nurse, so some days I'm wiped out, and there's a random car blocking me. One night I literally had to park halfway down the street and carry 5 bags of groceries because his buddy's truck was in my spot. Every time I said something, he'd do that half smile and go, "Oh yeah, sorry, they'll be gone soon." Like I'm the one being difficult, the final straw. I get home late Friday night after a 12-hour shift, still in scrubs, starving with takeout that's already getting cold in the passenger seat, and boom, a giant white SUV just parked dead center in my driveway. Not even off to the side, like full on blocking me from even pulling in. I knock. No answer. I call Jack. He finally picks up, super casual, and goes, "Oh yeah, that's my in-laws. They'll only be there a couple hours. Just park on the street. It's no big deal." That was it for me. I called a tow truck, and yes, I checked before. Where I live, if someone blocks your private driveway, you're allowed to tow them immediately. Tow guy showed up in 20 minutes. SUV was gone before I even finished half my fries. About an hour later, fury is pounding at my door. Jack's beet red and his in-laws are yelling in the background, and he's going off about how I didn't need to take it that far. I just said, "You told me it wasn't a big deal, so I treated it like it wasn't a big deal, and then I closed the door." They had to pay almost $300 to get their car back. And funny enough, ever since then, my driveway has stayed crystal clear, not even for just a sec. Somebody should do a psychological study with people like that neighbor to figure out why people like that think it's totally cool for them to do whatever they want, but you better not color outside the lines. Let me know in the comments if you have neighbors like this or what you would do to handle them. On to story 2, where people have to learn the parking lesson the hard way. Story 2 is titled, "Don't get your panties in a twist, I'll be gone in 5 minutes anyway." The year is 2001. It's 8 a.m. and I'm late to the first day of class with a professor that hates my guts. The pressure is real and I'm getting out of my student crap box car, out of the underground garage, only to find the exit blocked by a black Nissan X-Trail. Based on the pristine condition of its paint, the poor thing had most likely never left town, and the worst obstacle it had surmounted was the curb it was now proudly blocking. Out of the vehicle stepped a creature the locals, this is the south of France, called a kagu. For those of you too lazy to look it up, picture bleached blonde hair with a solid 5 centimeters of dark roots showing, skin so tanned it looked like leather, a wide mouth open full of chewing gum, with a Gojule Coprel cigarette somehow precariously stuck in the corner of her mouth. Granted, I could have reacted more politely, but a combination of stress, sleeplessness, and general frustration to the fact that this was the 3rd time in 5 days that somebody had decided to ignore the big underground parking studded door with 3 no parking signs got the better of me, and I honked and yelled at her, asking her to move her car. "Now, please, thank you." All I got in return was a finger and the scream, "Don't get your pennies in a twist, now a-hole. I'll be gone 5 minutes anyway, so chill." before she disappeared in one of the nearby businesses. 5 minutes passed, no sign of the cudgel. 5 more minutes, nothing. And another 5. Surprisingly enough, still nothing. At this point, I'm guaranteed to miss the start of my class, and I'm already looking forward to the stern and condescending scolding of my professor. I am delighted. My mood is improving by leaps and bounds, and I resign myself to the obvious. The lady is not coming back anytime soon, and my only 2 choices left are either somehow convince her to move her car or get it towed away. I had not been the most civil with her during our first interaction. I decide to mend my way, enter the premises she disappeared in 15 minutes ago, and find her sitting cozily with a cup of coffee and another cigarette doing small talk. If looks could kill, I would have been reduced to atoms on the spot. She answered my question with a colorful "F off, you little crap. Can't you see I'm working here? Go away. I'll be done in about a half hour or so anyway, so what are you complaining about? Get the flip out of here." She actually did come out 30 minutes later and would have escaped the tow truck had it not been for her 4 fully flat tires. So instead, she spent 15 minutes on her tan next to her car before the police removed it and gave her a ticket for illegal parking and another ticket for disorderly conduct and disrespect for the police force. It's never a good idea to swear and curse at the cop. Also, to this day, I still wonder if she noticed the potato I squeezed in her exhaust pipe. Seeing as OP didn't fess up to the tire thing, one can only hope that they were only kidding about the exhaust pipe. It is interesting to know that there's an epidemic of entitled people all over the world and not just here in America. Story 3 is titled, The Old Parking Space Scenario. Not sure this totally fits the revenge topic, but here goes. I was going to the grocery store and I see 2 spots available right next to each other. This was a score because this particular store doesn't have too many spaces that are close to the entrance due to the weird parking lot footprint. As I'm about to pull in, a woman coming from the other side wants to pull into one of the spots, so I wave her on. It was no big deal because there were 2 spots. After she pulls in, I pull into the other spot on her driver's side right next to her. Now, I'm a pretty good parker, if that were a word. But after I pull in, she gives me a very dirty look, and then she gestures to the door or the ground, something I wasn't sure of. My assumption is that she perceives there isn't enough room for her to get out. Since I was in a good mood, I back up and move my car over a bit, still staying within the lines. Same reaction from the woman as before, but with an added exaggerated sigh. Not letting this grump ruin my day or dampen my sparkle, I decided to move the car over another few inches. When I got back into the spot, not only do I get the dirty look and the exasperated sigh, she added an eye roll this time. I get enough of those from the teenagers in my life, and my sparkle is in danger of getting dampened. What am I to do? Well, I got out of my car to inspect the placement of the park job. I'm pretty close to the car next to me on the driver's side, but there is a person sitting in the passenger seat that was apparently watching this interaction, so I figured they weren't planning on getting out anyway. When I looked to the other side of my car, where the grumpy woman was, her car was actually a few centimeters over the line. She's also craning her head back to see what I'm doing. I have a decision to make, so I make it quick. I get back in my car, and at this point, she's saying something probably not nice to me and gesturing with her hands for me to speed up, I assume. So I tell her to calm down as best I can with hand gestures and pull my car back out for a 3rd time. This time, I move my car towards her car, so I am perfectly in the middle of my spot. It was never my fault in the first place. I get out, take a picture of both of our cars and her license plate, and she rolls down her window and rudely asks me where I think I'm going. Passenger in the other car calls out to me to get my attention, as Madam Grump says, "Are you going to move your car?" I look at the passenger trying to get my attention, and he says, "Flip that witch. Some people just can't be pleased." I look back at Madam Grump and say, what he said, pointing to the passenger in the other car. I then proceeded to walk by him. We high-fived. While I walked into the store, she sat there looking like a giant turd seething. Before I jump into my commentary, I've got a special message for one of my subscribers that I know is watching right now. Mr. Richard, this story makes me think of you because you always back your car up to the lines perfectly so my mom can't say you did a bad park job. I'll see you on the weekend whenever you see this video. So we had 3 parking morons. 2 got hurt in the wallet and 1 got hurt with their pride. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did reading. If you did, please keep liking, sharing, and subscribing. It always makes me feel great. We are still on the road to 1,000 subscribers, but now let's see if we can make 120. You would totally make my day if I get 10 likes on this video. We will see you next time for more funny stories where we get to call out people and ask ourselves, who does that? We'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. YouTube is showing you now some other videos that I have for you that'll be totally worth your time. They're funny, entertaining, and engaging, and you make my day when you keep watching. Click one of the thumbnails on the screen. You will not be bored.